or maybe...
The week's hot and toxic takes are just 4 songs away, but right now we've got Cookin' with number 3 on Pittsburgh's #1 hit music station.
B94. Let Russ cook, let Russ play, let Russ cook, light the way. When the game is on the line, let Russ cook, it's winning time. Put your faith in number 3, let Russ cook, he's the key. Now in black and gold he stands, with a playbook in his hand. Let Russ cook, new beginnings, hear the call.
B94, Pittsburgh's #1 hit music station, and you know what the sound means. 333-9494. We're looking for caller number 10. You'll score tickets to the Quinn and Banana Draft Party at Home Run Harry's in Station Square. It's WBZZ Pittsburgh, where the music never stops more than twice an hour.
B94.
Joined a team with a steel resolve. New hopes in Pittsburgh start to evolve. Then Russ came in, his talent so prime, and now the game will never be the same. He'll throw it, yes he'll throw it, and all the fans will stand and cheer. He'll throw. With a prayer, Pittsburgh faithful rise in the huddle where their heart lies. Wilson's got that golden arm, Pittsburgh's pride, our newfound charm. He'll lead us, yes, he'll lead us through every play. We sing his name.
Steel Resolve on B94, Pittsburgh's #1 hit music station. The official 94 cast from Dennis Bowman and the weather outside. Partly cloudy skies, small chance of rain tomorrow. It's currently 59 in Newcastle, 59 in Steubenville, 58 in Little California. More music now on Pittsburgh's #1 hit music station.
B94. In the shadows of our darkest days, a QB quit the Steelers' way. Just as black and gold was fading gray, a choir of yins are sang. Let Russ cook, let fields fly to black and gold. Good guys. Touchdown. No defenders can be found. Just 2 of the best quarterbacks around. Touchdown. No defenders can be found. Push those quarterbacks around. No defenders can be found. 'Cause you're of the best quarterbacks around.
B94, Kyle Chrise, and your chance to see the Clarks is coming up at 8 a.m. on Quinn and Banana, all courtesy of the station where the music never stops more than twice an hour.
B94.
Sound the battle cry. Battle cry, battle cry. Boots on the field, yeah. We make some noise. We make noise. We make noise. The black and gold swarms with a heart of steel. Of steel, of steel, of steel. Tomlin's at the helm. At the helm, at the helm. And it's all so real. So real, so real, so real. Cause I'm watching, and I'm leading, and I'm winning. I'm with the team I'm rooting
even worry about your level of concern.
We talking about
Twitter.
think of how stupid the average person is, and then realize half of them are stupider than that.
Mike Tomlin eat chicken wings? We mock ourselves.
It's only taken the longest off season ever.
Till next year.
Until next year. Nope. Next year, the off season's going to start in February. It's finally here, draft day. You better be listening to this on time, or else these hot takes are going to get really cold really fast. I'm getting league sources alerts onto my phone as we speak. This could be factually incorrect by the time you hit play.
Mm-hmm. Even more so than usual.
Yeah, right. It's like Ben is getting out of the podcast game, and his was great. So why am I still here? What am I doing? If Ben said it was time to go, why? Because there must be football justice.
That's right.
And these hot and toxic takes will not justify themselves.
They can't. I mean, that's the whole reason why we're here, is they can't be justified.
They can't be justified. Sorry, Waylon Givens. Your gun doesn't. That's a. All right, that's an FX reference.
Great show.
It was a great show. And it is. I guess you can still watch it today. It's what you're talking about. The hot and toxic takes of Steelers social media, exposed and embarrassed every week. Is that true? I don't know. No one. If a podcast falls in the woods, does the person who with the hot take?
Well, they should be embarrassed. That's the justice part you were talking about. Hopefully, they are in some way.
Well, I'm Kyle Chrise. With me is Greg Benevent.
Hello.
Coming up in the second half, I know it's all draft talk, and this is going to be. We're going to try to keep it not long, but it's also. Taylor Swift week, Tortured Soul Department, out in stores. 31 track double album. Wow. But being an iHeart Radio executive producer, I was able to hear one of the demos that didn't make the album, and it's actually, she's been a football fan now that she's dating Travis Kelce. Okay. And one of the songs that left on the cutting room floor was about the Kenny Pickett drama. Believe it or not.
Wow.
So I have that coming up. I've got my hands on the unreleased Taylor Swift song about Kenny Pickett. That's coming up in the second half. But now it's time for your hot and toxic takes. It's because it's draft week. Let's get to the takes.
Draft week.
Boom. Let's start. No, is this it? This isn't the one I wanted to start with. Oh, because it's officially draft week. Where is it? Here we go. At Carney Media, it's officially draft week. Time to watch Khan go back-to-back with the 2024 draft class. Here he is, Omar Khan, coming out. Is this the Coachella crowd? Oh, I saw this and I had to share this. Is it Photoshop? I love it. It's at its best.
Or face apping, face swapping, or whatever. But this is, I mean, Khan doesn't seem like the fastest physically moving person, despite someone who moves on the phones very quickly.
This is him. This is him on draft. You thought Kevin Costner was cool and collective on draft day. Omar Khan is hitting the catwalk. This is actually Little Yachty at some festival. And, but they got Omar Khan on there. Okay,
whatever. Good for them. No, it's great. I mean, I don't know if you need a hype up video for the draft, but this one does the job.
I just wanted to share that. And
you should. That was great. I'm glad you did.
Yeah, and if you're not watching on YouTube, then you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But
we can describe dancing to you, but I don't know if that would help.
Okay, let's get to some real takes. It's speculation and reculation time, starting with at Tony Pauline. More NFL draft news and rumors. Eagles and Steelers looking to move up for Quentin Mitchell, the cornerback. So, this was earlier in the week. The rumors have been coming fast and furious, but it started earlier in the week that they're going to Steelers are going to move up to number 12.
Wow.
To get a cornerback.
Right, a cornerback from the MAC, who Tomlin did love. If you remember, Tomlin specifically asked at whatever thing it was to have him cover the Michigan wide receiver Wilson. And it's part of that. Then that was around the time when this cornerback, Quentin Mitchell, apparently went so far off the boards, there's no chance the Steelers could draft him at 20. So what I think we're seeing here is this Mr. Tony Pauline protecting his sources with the Broncos, who very much want this information out there in hopes that someone else trades up to get this pick, to get this guy ahead of the Steelers, or there's something else ahead of the Steelers. I also think we should have more people that just come out in their tweets and say, here's news and rumors, and we're not going to differentiate them.
News and rumors and speculation, and then could have, should have,
right,
or might have been things.
I see only one question mark here, and perhaps there should have been more.
I'm fine with moving up, but for a cornerback,
I mean, this guy had better be Deion Sanders, and if you remember, Deion Sanders went to Florida State, aka not Max School.
But this guy did have the Tomlin moment. I would like to hear about, like we were talking about last week. I'd like to hear about Mitchell's Tomlin moment. Maybe someone can ask him about that at some point.
That would be great. I mean, the only rumor I've read that I do believe is that one guy, I think it was Daniel Jeremiah, said a lot of teams want to trade up to get tackles, and that makes sense considering like the Steelers, Bengals, Rams, and Saints could all take tackles from like 16 to 20. So that, since it didn't name specifics, I'm willing to buy that one.
You're exactly right.
All right. But, don't forget, and other people had this, like at Steelers Win 109, Minkaberg Steelers. This is the same Tony Pauline who said Fields to Atlanta deal was 100% done. And, he also said on April 15th, I think we talked about it last week, the speculation from people familiar within the Steelers said Graham Barton. So, and then Pauline went on the Fan even after talking about this trade-up report and went on the Fan and said Graham Barton. So he's speaking out of both sides of his mock there.
Right. Oh, yes. And I think that, and I kind of wonder if it sounds like this Pauline guy is whatever the teams want him to publicly put out there, he'll do it. Maybe the Steelers wanted people to know that they were looking at Barton, those familiar with the organization. But I know, despite knowing very little about the Broncos organization, that the Broncos want people to think that others are willing to trade up for that pick.
I've trained myself to hate it.
Yeah, sounds like smokescreen. Let's get to a take that now let's get to a warmer take. I'm kind of warming up to this.
Me too.
By Josh Carney. Josh Carney, according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, the Steelers are a team to watch in trade talks with Broncos for wideout Cortland Sutton. Now, could this also be for a 12, or are we talking player here?
I think this would be a lot lower. I mean, the Sutton guy's good, but he's not, a first-round pick good, at least not what I've heard. I mean, the only thing I know about him is apparently he did have pretty good chemistry with Russell last season, and that's where a lot of Russell's touchdowns in Denver went to. I would assume this would be later in the draft, hopefully so, but this sure looks like a nice way to not have to spend the first-round pick and however many tens of millions it would take to get Brendan Ayuk.
Would you package together 20 and, I don't know, would you package 20 and a third for 12 and Sutton? That probably wouldn't cost it. Would you trade 20 and 51 for 12 and Cortland Sutton?
I mean, if I'm doing that, it means I'm getting probably the best tackle because I find it hard, best tackle left because I do still find it hard to believe they would do all that for just a cornerback. I mean, if you do that, then you're definitely getting like the third round center, which would at that point is what the very Italian sounding kid from Wisconsin, Van Pran from Georgia, maybe the Penn State kid. Penn State kid could play. I mean, that's not insane, Kyle, just because they have the extra third round pick from trading Kenny. So I mean, that's a lot, but it's, to use the phrase from the Ron Francis trade in 91, it's a big price for a big payoff.
Let's keep it moving. We've got insiders weighing in here. The take from at the Pony Express, Andrew Filippone. No, it's not his take. Insider Emeritus Ed Bouchette on the Steelers draft. Left tackle is a position of want, not a position of need. Steelers need center, wide receiver, cornerback. So all this trade up, that you think that's for a tackle, but again, tackle seems to be a luxury pick. Why trade up for a tackle? And don't say corner. We're not trading up for a corner, right?
Yeah, I'd be surprised by that. And they're certainly not trading up for a center, because those are later on too. So maybe if you're trading up, you are getting one of those super wide receivers if they're still left. I mean, obviously Harrison's kid isn't going to be there, but I don't know, Neighbors or what's the other one, Adunzie, maybe if they fall for whatever reason. These are all. This is kind of the big reason why I don't think they're trading up. These things they're saying, but as something else we've talked about, the Steelers have never been in a position to get a great tackle. I mean, I think we mentioned it here before once. There's still room to be the greatest offensive tackle in Steelers history.
Yeah, I mean, what? Yeah, Marvell Smith.
Right. Is it Starks? It really, it's, there's no Mike Webster equivalent, Mean Joe Green.
John Kolb. You have to go back to John Kolb, I think.
Yeah. It's so, you can still be the greatest tackle in Steelers history. So that's why, and in large part because they rarely ever draft in a position where you can get one of these guys. When the Steelers were bad enough to be in a place to get Roethlisberger, they drafted the quarterback instead of a tackle, which, if you remember, Cowher wanted the tackle and had to be talked out of it, or at least that's what some of the things have said. So I could see them drafting a tackle just because they've never been in a position to do that, and hopefully they aren't again. But yeah, they do need a center, they do need a wide receiver, and they do need a slot cornerback. But again, all those things are stuff you can get on day 2 and 3.
We'll talk more probably in the second half, but my problem with drafting tackle this early in back-to-back years is that if in a best case scenario, right, now you got to invest $100 million on 2 players all at once or something.
Oh yeah, you're spending big money in back-to-back years. I've heard that. And the other and kind of the counter argument to that is, because I agree with you, that would be onerous by the time that gets there, is that if you don't draft the tackle now, then next year you have to seriously consider giving Dan Moore more money than he's worth. Is the exact position they were in with Chooks at the last extension.
Give him the Chooks contract. I'm fine with giving Dan Moore the Chooks contract. Give him the Max Starks contract. Transition tag 2 years in a row. And it's like, what do we, I remember Max Starks was making like 10 and 12 million at a time when that wasn't, that was unheard of. And it's like, heck, I'll take Dan Moore's production at 59 starts from a 4th round pick. I'll roll with that for another season.
And that's sort of the reason I don't want them. I'm less into drafting a tackle in like the 3rd round, where they're like, oh, there's this great Notre Dame tackle. It's like, okay, if we're gonna, I'm by no means the biggest supporter of Dan Moore, but if you're gonna try and replace Dan Moore, you should get a guy who actually replaces Dan Moore versus being the same guy who's basically just another Dan Moore.
Yeah, how about a guy with more than 59 credible starts at tackle, which is going to be, that takes a veteran that was going to pay a lot more. I don't know. Again, yeah, we're rolling the dice with a rookie. I don't know.
Right. It's I'll take someone with incredible talent, which would be there at 12 or maybe at 20, and it's very easy to talk me into the best player available is a tackle at that position, just because, again, when you're going to be around to draft one of those guys? Hopefully not. But this is why I'm fine with the trade down and get more guys, but to fill all these holes and others. But man, you got to find somebody that is able to do a viable trade down, and I don't know if that exists.
It's good to see the big boy.
I was talking about, that was for offensive lineman talk, but
no, there's plenty of big boys available there too. Maybe you trade down to 27, and then I'm all about any one of these centers.
Yeah, you trade. Right. A trade down to 27 and getting a Graham Barton there. It's
right.
going to look like getting Joey Porter at 32.
Exactly, or even the Oregon kid, who, by the way, everyone has turned on in the last 2 weeks. Have you noticed that? Like all of a sudden, he's been flagged, and he's got the personality, and it's all there is a character assassination attempt against the Oregon center kid in the last 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, we'll talk more in the second half.
I want to get ahead of myself.
I want to, I need more. I need a clear-cut insider take. At Blitzberg, Jerry Dulac on the Steelers' first-round pick. There is no clear-cut choice at number 1. Okay. Though it's a safe bet. Ooh, let me get the safe bet. It will either be a right tackle, a center, a cornerback, or wide receiver. Insider Jerry Dulac with one of 4 positions of speculation.
And also, if you followed the Steelers draft visits, it was nothing but these guys. There was, one quarterback and, I think 2 running backs, and that was it. It was all these positions. So, yes, this is, that's probably, I think of these 4, all this is saying is here are the holes the Steelers have right now here in late April.
There's your safest parlay for your Pittsburgh Post-Gazette bet, sure lock of the week. Jerry Dulac. What do the fans think? At Blitzburg back again. Who would Yins take in the first round of the draft? 40% offensive tackle, 39% center, 16% wide out, 5% corner. Finally, I agree with the Steeler Nation on something.
Yes.
Tackle or center. Yeah, that seems to be what everyone's saying, I guess.
It is, and this is one of the rare things where you do have to kind of commend the fan base a bit, because it's very easy to stereotype the fan as just liking to see the sexy, fun positions of a wide receiver. But it's nice to see people being yes, we need a tackle to protect both of the very sack-prone quarterbacks the Steelers are going to have at positions 1 and 2 this season.
I like what Ben said on DVE. He said center is more important than tackle. Tackle, you can chip a guy with a tight end or running back. Center, and of course, I'm sure that's the guy who Ben plays closest with. But but still, I like that perspective, at least, from a quarterback. I don't know if Russ shares the same mentality, but...
Well, also, isn't it a perspective from who was almost, and is very close to, the most sacked quarterback in the history of the National Football League? Ben would know it just beyond being just a Hall of Famer. I think Brady only passed him at the very end, right?
Also, I can see Ben being tackle's no big deal. The guy comes around the edge, you just kind of shake him off with your shoulder, and but the guy coming up the middle, that's the guy.
Yeah, you can't just roll your back at him and then face the opposite end zone and then spin around and throw it on a dead run.
Yeah, if it's Terrell Suggs, you kind of stiff arm him, and but if it's this guy, you shake him.
Right, but if it's Mario Williams during the 3 years he was a force, then you got to do this. If we would all be on the same page, if only Tomlin and Khan weren't being so deceitful at their press. Can you believe these lies and these thirsty ass lies? At Mark Cabali, if you think you know who the Steelers are drafting in the first round, well, you don't. Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin spent 30 minutes yesterday using Spy Hunter-like smokescreen to ensure you don't. Are they just lying to themselves by saying everything is okay? This was the take from all the insiders, is this was some kind of sneaky snake oil. What did you expect him to be like? Here's the quote from Cabali. It was full on silly season over on the South Side on Monday, which is somewhat of a new development. You can't deny the Steelers need a center, but once again, the decision makers noted they have flexibility already at the position. Nate Herbig, James Daniels, yada yada, Spencer Anderson, yada yada, Ryan McCullum. Do you trust them or even remotely want to rely on them? What did they want Tomlin and Khan to be like? We don't know what we're gonna do. We don't have anyone at center. Dude, we are so lost. Do you know a guy that can snap the ball, Mark?
Is Bouchette in here? Can we get him on the phone? What would you guys do here?
I will say the closest I'll come to agreeing with this is that the idea of a joint press conference a few days before the draft is asinine. There is no news that can come out of that. The closest anyone got to the news coming out of this, and Kovacevic pointed this out, and I watched the press conference, and I didn't even pick this up, so this was a good note. It was a really good poll by Kovacevic, is that Khan said, and no one's ever said this before in how many decades of Steeler football, we want the best player available at a position of need. No one ever added that part before, and Kovacevic made that point. And that's what it always was, but that's actual news. Someone straight up saying that, yes, we're not going to draft the best player available if it's like, if that super Georgia tight end is there, or like edge rusher from Georgia, I was going to probably Alabama or whatever. Like, no, they're not going to draft those guys. They're going to hope someone else trades up for them. But it's you could have had Carboli's tweet here read by like a very spurned 12-year-old girl, if not for the Spy Hunter reference.
It's I lost my train of thought, but well, you are correct, sir. Here's the other thing that Kabali had to say. This is now the third different setting that Steelers have told us they have internal options at centers. Maybe they are telling us something and we're just not listening. If they don't select center in the first round, I think that would be the narrative. It was like, they've been saying, we've got Nate Herbig, we've got Spencer Anderson, we've still got this, what do they say, the guy from used to play in the Rams we could sign.
Right. I think the guy from the Rams becomes more of an option. And the best take on this was, I want to say it was Alan there with Steelers Now, who said, if the Steelers believed in any of those guys, they might have tried to have them snap the ball last year when Mason Cole was snapping it into the river. So I can kind of see that, but the Steelers have to say this kind of thing because if you're another team that wants a center, and there are like 2 or 3 of them, that you don't want them to trade in front of the Steelers in the second round just to get a center. So I mean, you absolutely have to say we're sure happy with these options. None of these guys have snapped the ball in a calendar year or more than that in the National Football League. So yeah, but we're very happy with all of them. Sure, you bet.
Well, everyone seems to think that they said nothing at this press conference, but at S Dakota 22, Dakota Smith says, hey, Tomlin described Graham Barton to a T in his longest answer at the press conference. I think it was like, what are you looking for in someone who might not be position flexible? And it was like intelligence and experience, So I guess... boom, check mark the box.
Barton really could be the pick just because Tomlin, for good or for ill, really does value that position flexibility. And it is crazy how versatile Barton can be. They could play him at any of the positions, him and that Fontenot guy, or however you say it. But, so Barton, very well could be the pick.
Okay, well, we could also, Paul Zeiss also disagrees. Okay, enough said. Let's get to the second half because we've got a lot more to talk about, because including the results of Mock the Mock 2024. The results are in. More than 130 mocks studied. Wow. Who will the pick be according to the mock drafts? I've got it down to 2 names, and maybe I've got a new rule myself. Maybe Khan isn't the only one adding an addendum to the Colbert doctrine. Maybe I'm going to add an addendum to the mock doctrine, and I'm going to be able to make some money off this if it's true. Oh, plus Taylor Swift's Kenny Pickett song coming up in the second half.
Hey Kenny, how lucky are we, right?
I know, I can't believe it. It's truly a dream come true.
I know, I felt the same way back in the day.
Do you have any advice for me?
I would say have fun and really just savor every moment. After all, not everyone gets to be in a #1 Cochran commercial.
It's a great picture. Nice beard, Ben.
Thanks, bud.
Stop by any #1 Cochran store or visit Cochran.com.
Not bad, Kenny. Not bad at all.
It's the second half of what Shin's talking about, the conversation about the Steelers social media conversation. Hang on tight later in the show for the Taylor Swift track that was left on the cutting room floor about the Kenny Pickett drama. She's been into football now, so I guess there's one song about Kelsey and one demo that we never got to hear, but I got that's privilege of being an insider, a radio insider.
There you go.
Me and Taylor go back. I did interview her back in 2008 when she was a young up and comer.
Wow.
Anyway, you're not here for the Taylor Swift talk. You're here for wrong song. The final Mock the Mock results 2024. The mocks have spoken. What have they said? I'm the only one with the tea leaves. And now I'm talking. I've seen these mocks so many names. All of their boards looking all the same. Mock, 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 mock. I don't care about the situation. I'm the only place with the mock information. And I'm spilling my secrets for free, only to you. There's only one way. There's only one way to mock. I need some cold brew.
It's been a long mock season, Kyle. You deserve that cold brew.
We were cutting down. 2 years ago, I looked at
It's some absurd.
I looked
number.
at 269 mocks two years
God.
ago. There were 30. People say that this year is the hardest choice, and in 2 years ago, there were 32 different players mocked to the Steelers.
Wow. And that was which one was that? Who was that? Was that Najee? Who was that?
No, that was the Kenny year.
That was the Kenny year. Okay. Well, I could see people being like, are they going to get the quarterback or someone else? Okay, I can see that being a lot of different.
And then last year there were 25 different players mocked in 155 mocks that we studied.
Okay.
We're trying to cut that down. I was able to cut back to only 137 what I called key or essential mocks. Just
Good.
none of the game players.
Right.
In this one we got to trade up or trade down. Or this one you've got to pick a guy with two vowels back to back. Serious mocks only, because a subject this serious requires serious study.
Absolutely.
My method may have determined the pick.
Ooh.
But first, the hot draft takes, starting with at Scarpizio. In my opinion, the Steelers' first-round pick should not be a project. Going to need him to contribute early and often. Dare I say, immediate starter. If they stay at 20, they cannot reach. If they get their guy in the late 20s and get an additional second-rounder, please do. Okay, if we're going to stay put at 20, you just cannot reach, okay? In years past, we've reached, who, I guess Terrell Edmonds was a reach, some would say.
That was a long time ago, too, at this point. Yeah, I mean, I guess my question becomes, what do you consider Broderick Jones? I mean, he didn't win the job right out of camp, but, as soon as Tomlin got the opportunity to say that Chukes had said mean and discouraging words or whatever, Jones was in and never came out. So I'm not sure. I mean, was he an immediate starter? No, but I mean, within 6-7 weeks, he played the last 10 games as well as the playoff game. So that feels to me like quite an immediate impact, even if he didn't go out there for the first series against the Niners.
So so you're not throwing tackle off the board because
just off of what happened a year ago. I mean, I don't think they have to be an immediate starter, because isn't the idea, as Tomlin has said, it's to get better throughout the year. I mean, and that was so helpful for Joey Porter Jr., who's admitted that throughout the season, that it helped him not having to go out there in that first game against Ayuk and Debo and all those guys. So I don't agree that it has to be an immediate starter, not even just to be a great player, but to be a very good player this season.
I think an immediate starters are like a Trevor Lawrence, who hasn't always panned out,
right? Or Pouncey. I mean, it's a Najee. I mean, a lot of positions where hey, maybe you don't have to learn a whole lot of things. So I disagree with that they don't have to be an immediate starter, but they are someone that should contribute this year. I mean, the idea of an entire year project, I can agree with that, but they haven't had a guy like that in many, many years.
All right. Well, what about this when it comes to tackles? At Big A Rashad Ahmad. So wait a minute. If Fuaga doesn't have the length, Latham doesn't have the feet, Mims doesn't have the experience, Fautanu plays on the left side, none of these guys would be day one starters at right tackle. Should we even consider a tackle in round one? And then all these guys seem to have question. Even the Penn State guy maybe doesn't have the length of arms, or the Notre Dame guy won't be there on the board. So why even go tackle?
Well, I don't think many of these guys are going to be on the board. I kind of assume the only one that could be on the board then is Mims, and that's only because he played the smallest amount of games. I mean, if you're looking at these exact things, the one of those that's the most remedied is the guy that doesn't have the experience. The other guy isn't going to get better feet. The other guy isn't going to get longer. And maybe you can teach the other guy the position, although Fontenot can play all 5 positions. That's what I've read. I have no idea if that's true or not. So I forget who made the point that if Mims played more than 8 games, if he'd played 10 or he played an entire season, there's no way he'd be there at 20. So that sounds like the kind of thing that's a better deal than the rest of them. But I mean, there's so many different ways they can go with this. I don't worry about them if they do stick at 20. I don't worry about them missing out on a very good player.
Well, speaking of must hit in the first, the take from at Adam Schefter, National Insider Adam Schefter. ESPN content producer Paul Hembo calculated the percentage of first-round picks that are hit and miss based on whether that player signed a second contract with the team. Yada, yada. Looks like a guaranteed hit rate is center, 92%. Although tackle is next highest but only 59%. Meanwhile, wide receiver is worst at 27%. So it looks like the safest bet is center. Now, is Omar Khan the safest guy in the room?
He's not the safest guy in the room by any means, whether you watched that video at the beginning or not. Something I didn't know that I actually learned, I want to say it was Alan Saunders' podcast again the other day, is that if you draft a center in the first round, then 5 years from now when you pick up that option, it's not the special center option. It's the offensive line option. So you're still paying him an average based on what the guards and the tackles are getting.
Really?
So yeah, so if you draft that center, you're paying him the real money. So that's the one thing that made me think if it's going to be a center, maybe it is Barton, because that guy can be your guard if you get rid of Daniels next year. Maybe that guy can start at tackles if, God forbid, there's an injury to Moore or Jones. That's why, that's why when they're all like tackle, I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense financially and physically.
Oh, so you're saying, this year, he's Graham Barton center this year. Next year, who knows? He's what
right. And then you get, whatever kid is crushing the Big Ten next year in the 4th round. That's when I heard that made a lot of sense, because if you do draft a center in the first round, he's probably going to hit, but in 5 years, he's going to be the league's highest paid center or up there.
Okay. Well, how about this from at David M. Todd? I'm pretty convinced one of these guys on this list will be available at pick 20. Tackle, J.C. Latham, Alabama. Tackle, Olu Fashanu, Penn State. Offensive lineman, Fuaga, Oregon State. All these names. Amarius Mims, tackle, Georgia. Tyler Guyton, tackle, Oklahoma. Troy Fontanu, Washington. Graham Barton, offensive lineman, Duke. Okay, out of those 7, if say all 7 are on the board, what do you like from that list?
I mean, either the Penn State guy or the Alabama guy, personally. I mean, that's, again, I don't watch these guys play. I don't do video. I just consume propaganda like so many of you. But those are the names that I hear is the best, the Penn State guy and the Alabama guy. And for whatever reason, the Oklahoma guy is the one that they're all, everyone has at the bottom of this list. That is the one everyone seems to have at the end of the first round, this Guyton.
All right, so all 7 of those are on there. Would you move back 4 to 6 spots?
If all 7 of them are there at 20, yeah, because I know I'm getting one of them at 25, but I don't think that's going to be the case, that all 7 of them are there. But hopefully, sure. That means people have gone nuts with quarterbacks, defensive ends, linebackers, wideouts. Someone took the safety, Minka kid from Iowa. Yeah, it's they drafted landmarks. That's really fortuitous for the Steelers then.
Well, if only someone did the work. I did. I simulated hundreds of PFF mock drafts to find out who would be available from this list. Would they really be available? Now, J.C. Latham. Now, again, this is PFF's mock data, so it's their biases as far as team needs.
And you know what we think of PFF here.
They're just about as good as bookies.com. Maybe they're just the bookies.com that doesn't take your money. I don't know. Anyway, they do have a subscription plan. Maybe anyway.
Oh my God.
So after simulating hundreds of PFF drafts, J.C. Latham and Talies Fuaga from Oregon State were available 0% of the time at pick 20. Zero.
Okay.
So if you want one of if one of those is your guy, Steelers have to move up.
Okay.
According to the
I believe that because they're not the only people saying something to that effect.
Well, no one saw Joey Porter Jr. dropping to 32 last year. No one saw Kenny Pickett being the first quarterback mocked in 2020 whatever year. And so this is just, okay. But anyway, it's something to guide it on. So J.C. Latham, Fuaga available 0% of the time. How about Washington's Troy Fontanu, available only 20% of the time at pick 20.
Okay.
So let's say there's a 1 in 5 chance that he'll be there, which means he's not. He probably won't be there. Now, Amarius Mims, he was available 75% of the time. That's but again, he's also the number 1 mocked player to the Steelers.
Right.
And Graham Barton is available 60% of the time, so 3 out of 5 times. So he's already fallen. The thing with these mocks is the pick right before us is the Rams, heavy offensive line interest.
Yeah.
And Cincinnati is right before that, also with some could have some offensive line interest.
Right. I honestly, of all the things you said, the most shocking to me was that Barton was there only 60% of the time. I would have assumed that number would be much higher.
It's the Steelers. If they're going to have to trade up, they are going to have to jump, I think, more than 3. Again, according to, my own PFF simulated mocks, players to guarantee you're going to have to jump over the Rams and the Bengals because they're heavily interested, according to the computers.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
And then did we get a October surprise from... at PGH Steelers Now. Troy Fontanu reportedly flagged by teams for knee issue. According to Albert Breer, knee was flagged. So could this, are you willing to take, all these guys seem to have some kind of injury issue. Even, Graham Barton, has a shoulder. JPC, or what's his name? JPJ, the second here, has concussions.
Right.
His injury history. Are you worried about any of this? You flagged?
Well, they know the truth better than me. That's what these, that's what so much of the combine and flying into your team doctors, these visits are about, is getting checked out so the teams know about these things. We saw it last year. There were a lot of teams that didn't want Darnell Washington because of whatever was wrong with his knee. Well, whatever. There's certainly plenty to criticize about how the Steelers used Washington and what Washington did at times in the season, but he sure didn't have problems with his knee. So the Steelers, it seems to do a pretty good job about with these draft pick guys finding out which of these flags are bigger and redder than others.
It is a pebble in my shoe.
Well, yeah, most of the time, except like Corey Trice, he has injury history, and then there you go, first day in pads, and then he's,
but he's also a 7th round pick, so I think they kind of this is an investment, a gamble worth taking.
All right, so let's look at the mocks here. The total mock-up? The total.
I think that's the right phrase, yes.
We've got 137. We gained 33. I even this morning, I was looking at the final mocks, trying to get them all in. I wanted to make sure everyone's voice was heard in these.
Sure.
So we got 33 new mocks this week for 137 total. And the leading vote getter still with 10 mocks this week, leading for 36 total. Amarius Mims, the tackle from Georgia. He is I wouldn't say the consensus pick. He is the plurality pick, though.
Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, that's more than that's about double Barton, and wow, geez.
Second place coming in strong in the final week to take second place, gaining 6 mocks this week for a total of 19, just beating out third place by 1. Graham Barton from Duke. It was I think it was that the visit at the last minute. That's because that's the other thing. It's just like with both Jackson Powers Johnson and Graham Barton, Khan and Tomlin decided not to go out and visit.
They didn't go out to those.
It was Arthur Smith down in Duke, and then it was.
I think it was Bruner, right?
Was it Bruner? But I think it was also the O-line coach.
Oh, okay, Meyer. Okay.
Yeah. So that's just the only thing. It's like if these guys are your guy, why didn't you want to get to know him more? But they did bring him in. I get it. All right. So that's your top 3. Oh, no, I didn't get to third. Jackson Powers Johnson, third. He gained 3 this week for a total of 18.
Wow.
That's your top 3. And that breaks the 50% threshold that I believe is enough. By studying the mocks, you can determine it will be one of these 3 picks. But I have a new rule. Before we get to that, let's just add the new name. We did get a new name this week for the 20th name total. Tackle from Notre Dame, Joe Alt.
Wow.
John Breach from CBS had us trading up to 12 with Denver and not getting the cornerback from Toledo, getting the number 1 tackle who we didn't go to a pro day. We didn't bring him in for a meeting, but that's...
Yeah, I mean, obviously I don't think that's going to happen, but if something this bizarre were going to happen, that's a player I could see it happening for, and I could imagine them saying like, hey, we didn't think Alt was going to fall out of the top 7, so we moved up to here because we believe he's going to be Jonathan Ogden for the Steelers.
That would certainly be the only one to mock that, John Breach of CBS. But, some of these guys, even they're putting their final mocks in, mocking people that... just not on the board, like, I don't know, the cornerback from Iowa, Cooper DeJean. Well, I don't know why that's been on some people's radar. Anyway, anything of note? Well, NFL on Fox, the only one to have us trade out of round 1 entirely for the Niners, Brandon Ayuk. So they called their shot there.
Wow.
And... that seems like a steep price, a first round pick.
Yeah, I mean, the kid's good. He's a very excellent receiver, but man, oh man.
And then let's just get to the insiders. Kabali mocked Latham in a trade up, but then he didn't draft a center the rest of the mock draft. So I don't know what his plan there is for center after complaining about it after the thirsty press conference. Fittipaldo mocked Fontanu. Brooke Pryor mocked Jackson Powers Johnson. Brian Batko from the PBG mocked Mims.
Okay.
So everyone has a different opinion there. Reminder, in the past 2 years, no Steelers insider has predicted the first round pick. The Steel City Insider mocked Kenny 2 years ago. Shane from Steel City Insider. But that's it. That's the only one. So where are we? Okay. The 50% threshold we talked about. It's Mims, JPJ, or Barton.
Okay.
Now I'm ready to add a new rule, a third stipulation.
Okay.
To narrow this down even further. In the past 2 years, the most mocked candidate has not been the Steelers' choice.
Wow.
So 2 years ago, Malik Willis had 21.56% of the mocks.
Okay.
He wasn't the choice,
No.
Last year, Joey Porter Jr. had 24.5% of the mock choices. Of course, he, even though he was 32, he was not 17.
He was not the first round pick. Yeah.
So I'm ready to add a new stipulation, a third rule. Number 1 being the 50% threshold.
Okay.
Number 2 being that it can't be from an insider, no insight from an insider.
Okay.
And now number 3, it cannot be the most mocked player.
Wow.
That will eliminate Amarius Mims.
Certainly.
I'm willing to say the Steelers' first round pick will be either Graham Barton or Jackson Powers Johnson.
Wow.
Is that a limb too wide to go out on, or is that fair enough?
No, I think it's what your research led you to. I mean, it's not. This is the opposite of a hot take because you got there from something. I mean, this is. I mean, if this works, then wow, this really shows us something moving forward. This will change a lot of things because then that can become the new ironclad rule, just as to replace the one that will have disappeared in this case, which is that Tomlin and Khan had to be there at the pro day. Because if this is what happens, then that will be gone forever. So thus, this could be the new rule to replace it.
Yeah, I'm well with both of those, with JPJ and Graham Barton. I'm bending that rule. I'm willing to give an exception here because of the visitation.
Yes, 100%.
Otherwise, yeah, I would have said then it's got to be Mims, because that's the only one who satisfies the pro day rule.
But they didn't go to many pro days, so I mean that makes it all the more difficult.
Why didn't anyone ask that at the press? Everyone's mad about this press conference. Why didn't anyone say, "Hey, why didn't you go to Ohio State this year? Why didn't you go to Penn State? Why didn't you go to?"
It seems like
Oregon.
they were scheduled at weird times, right? Like too many of them were like on the same day, or when like the Senior Bowl was happening or something. There was weird scheduling with the pro days. I remember we commented on it at the time.
I do also remember. We you know what? I know it's drafted, it's important, but we gotta let Russ cook. Let's talk some Russ here. At SN Pittsburgh, Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Danger! Russ Wilson with a strike.
Whoa.
Here he is at the Pirates pregame. He threw out the first pitch. Let's see it again. Not from in front of the mound like some of the celebs do. Right. He doesn't want to play. Oh, here we go. Jumps over the line for good luck from the mound. Yeah. Boom! That's a strike. And hey, while we're at it. This is from Danger Russ Wilson himself. This is just the still Russell Wilson crushing baseballs. We thought Kenny could hit dingers. That's slow pitch church league softball. Kenny, Russ Wilson is hitting fastball. Well,
But actual batting practice that was going on while the Pirates were taking batting practice, too.
I forgot that Russ was pro athlete caliber, you know?
He was drafted, played in the minors. He could have taken the path to play professional baseball. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to forget because, again, we're still kind of getting to know the guy, but he is and has been a world-class athlete.
And he's like a leaps and bounds better athlete than Kenny Pickett, probably.
I mean, I'm sure Kenny could have played. Kenny grew up in Toms River, which is like the super little league place, if you remember. But I think Kenny kind of got off that train long before he could have been drafted into baseball, like Russell was.
Okay, well, I think the band is trying to take the field. Oh, one of these days, can I get the band out here on the field, please? Can I get them ready? Yeah, here we go. Renegades and Russ is made of. I want to get the manager of Styx. The manager of Styx is from Pittsburgh. I want to try to get him on the show because he is. I heard him talk about how cool it was for him to have this, have his professional life and Steelers.
That's great.
Mingle. Is it great? I don't know.
I think so. I mean, that's sort of what we're trying to do. Yeah.
Be the manager of Styx. That was my dream at 15.
Okay.
A couple odds and ends.
Oh man.
Let's start with. Well, this is actually. This isn't even Instagram. This is just like your targeted ads.
I sent this to you, and I already regret doing it.
Yeah, from anz3dgift.com.
A place that's absolutely going to steal your data should you try to buy this.
This is definitely some kind of grift website with the new Steeler bomber jacket. What is this? Police line, do not cross.
Yeah. I had to send this to you last night because it was so weird. Like, what is this?
I said it looked like what Andrew Dice Steele would wear on stage.
Right.
It's like, I don't think it's leather, but it is a bomber jacket with yellow tape like off the
like police crime scene tape around the Steelers logo, and there also seems to be is that caution road paint around the waist in the front, even around the tape? Am I reading that properly, Kyle?
There's a lot of flair there, yeah, for sure. It looks like it. It's like, and I went on the website, and they must just.
I was afraid to go on the website. I did not want that on my phone, Kyle. You're a braver man.
They have dozens of similar weird designs, and they're all like $75 each. So that's pretty inexpensive for a bomber jacket. So
right, yeah. So proceed with caution as the police line tape tells you about this bizarre code.
Yeah, that's your targeted ads. I don't know what you're.
Yeah, I don't know what I got to get myself together.
I don't seem to get those, but maybe I should. Maybe I need more Steeler targeted ads. I stay off Facebook and that, so I don't know.
Well, this was Instagram, but even then, that's Meta was like, we can get him with whatever happened here.
All right. Well, before we go, the moment you've been waiting for, Tortured Poets Department from Taylor Swift is out now. I have the inside track working as an executive producer at iHeartRadio. I have one of the outtakes that didn't make the album. Maybe it'll be on a, maybe we'll get an anniversary album down the line, but she's into the NFL now. And so one of the songs is about Kenny Pickett's, drama with the Steelers. Here, let's hear it. The song Quesadilla Man from Taylor Swift.
Sat on the couch with a heart that's torn. You quit the game, left the field before dawn. Lights dim in that Steel City town. Quesadilla dreams just falling down. Your gym shorts a scene in a commercial street. Quesadilla man, where's your plan? Quesadilla man, throwing the towel with pride in your hands. But that's not the way of a true Steeler man. Eyes on the screen, but behind you things fade. They took your eye in the night, a charade. A prodigy once with a future so grand, now just a myth like a footprint in sand. Drowns beneath the glares in those empty lots where dreams were parked but your drive was lost. From a city of steel to a heart that can't feel how the cheers turn to echoes in hills. Your face on the screen, selling couches and dreams in gym shorts, no glory or frills. Quesadilla man in your gym shorts stance. Did the spotlight fade? Where'd go that dance? Now you're backstage in the wings of the fray, a jersey unsung in the light of day. They watched you climb to heights untold, but the hero's journey, it left you cold.
Wow, I think that's a hit.
There you go.
I think
there
that's
you
a
go.
hit. Oh my God. Too much time on my hands. Well, next week we'll have a lot to talk about.
We'll have something to actually talk about in terms of football. Imagine that. Imagine it.
I think Taylor Swift, Kenny Pickett songs are more interesting.
Oh God, yes. And then anything that happens in April, 100%. 100%.
That's what we've been talking about.
All right. Next time you see us, we'll have a new draft class. Mm-hmm. And
you'll already be complaining about it. Fans.
Yeah, right. And we'll already be we'll be praising Khan but firing Tomlin. Keep the conversation going on social media. I'm at Kyle Chrise. How about yourself, Greg?
On Instagram, as these terrible ads showed you, at Greg Benevent, B as in boy, E-N-E, V as in Victor, E-N-T.
I appreciate the comments that have been coming in. Keep them coming. YouTube, iTunes, snail mail, smokescreen, you name it. Targeted ads.
There you go.
All right. Until next week, keep listening to your coach.
Be their best selves. That's going to be required.
Stay in school.